In the history of things that have happened that shouldn't be public knowledge, these clips take a step deeper into the dark part of the world. Aliens have been seen repeatedly on Earth. Well, not them, but UFOs. And the strange thing about this is the period they're usually seen the most. It is usually during a period of war when there is a threat of nuclear weapons being used. Why? See this clip.
Aliens are actually monitoring us. Alien sightings have been fairly common and commonly written off. However, if you notice the trend in which sightings increase, it's usually during war periods where there's a threat of nuclear war. There was a spike in UFO sightings when World War II was ongoing. And recently with the war in Ukraine, the UFO sightings have spiked again. There's a theory that the reason for the increased UFO sightings is that the aliens are monitoring us. Because a nuclear war is not just bad for our planet, but bad for theirs as well. Upon the threat of a nuclear war, the aliens will descend to assess the threat of their own planets. That's why theorists believe that
These scientists have repeatedly argued that the moon is hollow. But while you might not have understood their perspective, this clip shows that they just might have been saying the truth.
The moon is hollow. There's evidence from the NASA mission Apollo 12 when it went to the moon. Its mission was to crash the lunar module onto the moon's surface to detect if the moon experienced moonquakes with seismometers. But what they found was even more terrifying, as the readings were like those of a bell ringing back and forth, indicating that there was a big gap beneath the moon's surface. This theory is further backed up, as the moon is known to be made of basalt, a lightweight rock that is able to absorb impact extremely well. And if the moon was whole, there wouldn't be any ringing upon impact. That's why scientists are now saying that.
The back room. Have you ever heard of the back room? Not many people understand the terrifying details of the back room or even how to get out. Check this video to know why the back room is so terrible.
What are the back rooms? The back rooms are alleged to be a terrifying alternate dimension that people end up in when they no-clip or glitch out of reality. Upon glitching into the back rooms, you'll find 600 million square miles of randomly segmented empty rooms. Nothing but the stink of moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, and the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum buzz. If you hear something moving, run, because that something probably heard you as well. In order to get out, it's said you have to complete a series of levels, which test you to an impossible standard. Which is why the only thing for sure is that once you've entered the back rooms, it's unlikely you're getting out. With all this talk, many people are wondering,
I don't know about you, but the sight of a snake yawning is not something I've seen before, and neither is it something I want to see physically. It is terrifying even from this video. These are things you were not meant to see.
Things that you weren't meant to see. The sound it makes when a frozen lake cracks. I sure as hell would not be walking on that. This is how a snake yawns. This is what it looks like when a truck releases 100,000 birds.
The man who killed Halloween. What else do you know of this man? Do you know that he went as far as becoming a murderer for the most unimaginable reason? Find out in this clip.
The Pixie Stick Killer, the Candyman, the man who killed Halloween, all nicknames for Ronald Clark O'Brien, born 1944 in Texas, where he would live all his life. By 1974, Ronald would have a wife and 2 kids, aged 8 and 5, along with a good job as an optician. During Halloween, he allowed his 2 kids to go one town over to Pasadena, seeing as it had twice the population as the town they live in and stood within city limits, so it was really only a few blocks away. After a night of fun, Ronald let his kids have one more piece of candy before bed. Timothy, his 8-year-old son, chose a pixie stick, but upon ingesting it, he realized the candy wasn't sweet like usual, but it was bitter and actually burned. Even after his dad gave him a drink to wash the taste out of his mouth, the burning sensation traveled from his tongue to his stomach and intensified. Feeling this pain, he went to the bathroom where he threw up and eventually passed out and started convulsing. All this, including his death shortly after, happened within just a few minutes, rendering the call for the ambulance useless. After tests were run, it was revealed that there was enough cyanide to kill 4 grown adults in the pixie sticks he had consumed. The news was released, and people from all over Texas started sending in their pixie sticks to get tested. Only 4 more laced with cyanide were found. 1 by the 5-year-old sister, and 3 from the people that Ronald had went with trick-or-treating. Luckily, Ronald knew who passed out the deadly pixie sticks, a random house on the street that they were on that seemed to line up perfectly. Only, the single occupant of the house was caught on camera at work all day and all night, so there was no way candy had came from that house. After that suspicious incident, the police started to secretly investigate Ronald himself. If getting in fights, stealing from work, and being nearly $150,000 in debt weren't suspicious enough for a guy with a so-called perfect life, then the $50,000 life insurance policy it took out on Timothy before he died sure was. With the mortality rate of a child in perfect health being so low, and the poor rate of return, paired with the kid's full life in front of them, it was not common, and is still not a common occurrence for kids to have a life insurance policy. And what makes it worse, less than 13 hours after the death of Timothy, Ronald was on the line trying to collect a life insurance check. Though not incriminating evidence, the visitation to the chemical warehouse in search of cyanide, asking an exterminator how much cyanide can kill a person, and the night Timothy picked his last piece of candy out, his mother said he wanted a lollipop, but Ronald insisted he have a pixie stick instead. We're all pretty incriminating. A knife was even found in the house with the sugar candy residue, the one that was used to replace the candy with the poison. With all of this evidence, on November 5th, 1974, not even a full week after Timothy's death, Ronald was arrested for the murder of his son. He was sentenced to death, and even the death row inmates hated him. 10 years later, that death sentence was carried out, and he passed via lethal injection.
You would never have expected that these popular sayings had this dark origin story. That of King Henry would shock you, literally.
Top 3 common sayings with dark origins. Number 3. Calling shotgun. When road trips used to entail horse-drawn carriages, the stagecoach was used for high-value items, or for wealthy people to be transported in. The driver of these would be held in high esteem, and would be at the pinnacle of transportation. While on job, since they usually move sensitive carry-on, they would be accompanied by a passenger, who would sit next to them while carrying a shotgun, and their job was to protect these packages at all time. Number 2. A baker's dozen. Now hold on, because I'm about to explain this punishment by tier and perceived gender. Bread regulation used to be a thing in medieval England, but up until Henry III, it wasn't really watched that closely, so he enacted stronger regulations. People would try and sell low quality bread, or smaller than should be portions, to save money in bread making ingredients. So King Henry enacted an assize that declared any man trying to overcharge their bread for less than 2 sterlings for the first 3 times, they would pay a fine. If you were found exceeding that 3-time limit, or overcharge more than 2 sterling, you would undergo the judgment of the pillory, which is just being put in one of these things. But if you were to exceed this 2 sterling limit more than once, you would suffer judgment of the body, which translates to getting your hands chopped off. But for women, the amounts aren't specified, but the punishments include the trebuchet, which does not sound fun, the cucking stool, which is pretty much just being tied to a chair while they dunk you underwater, and the tumbril, which is just one of these cards. But these were often used to carry victims to their executions. And number 1, to wreak havoc. While it's always meant something negative, to wreak havoc used to be a cry in the battlefield for troops of England. But unlike most, meaning something like change of formation or retreat, the word havoc meant there was no limits on your actions. People would scream the word havoc, which would be followed by murder, rape, destroying all property, and pretty much anything you could think of. And this havoc cry was so heinous, King Richard II had to outlaw it. And anyone who partook in the havoc was beheaded.
On today's episode of videos humans were never meant to see, in this video, a black circle. Getting to know what a black circle sounds like is excruciating.
These are videos humans were never meant to see, part 22. Okay, so we all know how terrifying black holes are, but I guarantee you never heard what a black hole sounds like. The video I'm about to show you shows you exactly what a black hole sounds like, and it's absolutely disturbing.
One of the craziest things that could ever happen to you is getting a call from an unknown number saying that they are lost in the woods, trying to run from someone trying to kill them, and their only shot at escaping is if you can be their eyes and tell them how to move out of the woods.
Imagine being at work and receiving a call from an unknown number. And when you pick up, you hear a woman frantically begging you to help her. She says she's lost in the woods trying to escape her murderous ex, but she can't see without her glasses. And the only way she has a chance to survive is if you be her eyes and tell her everything that's going on through a video call. Unseen is the new Blumhouse sensory horror movie that you need to check out. It's a fight-or-flight survival story showing an unlikely friendship between Sam, a gas station clerk, and Emily, the woman being chased in the woods. Unseen is definitely a unique concept I don't think I've come across anywhere else. It's the directional debut of Yoko Okamura, a genre-fluid Asian writer and director, with a female-led cast and crew. Unseen was produced by Blumhouse, the masters of horror. You can buy or rent Unseen on digital now.
Are you a frequent visitor of the dark web? This page shows you exactly how to cook humans, the Cannibal Cookbook.
These are some of the most disturbing things ever found on the dark web, part 4. Today's story, Cooking Guide. Warning, today's video discusses acts of very malicious intent and very disturbing fetishes. Viewer discretion is advised. Tons of people share recipes from cookbooks, whether that be how to cook steak, how to cook chicken, but usually not how to cook humans. Oh, but the one we're discussing today does just that. This page holds a complete comprehensive guide on how to cook humans. It includes things like what body type to use, how to cut the body, where to cut into it, and of course, how to cook it. And trust me, I wouldn't lie to you guys. There's a literal cannibal cookbook. Just a friendly word of advice, I wouldn't go searching the dark web because you could find yourself, unfortunately, talking about the topic of how to cook other humans. And trust me, it's not a place you want to be.
Check out this one apocalypse that would be very impossible for anyone to survive. This video says why it is impossible.
Apocalypses that would be absolutely impossible to survive.
What clip came out to be the most shocking revelation?